virtual room. But anyway, how are y'all?
Doing well. Doing well. How are you?
Good.
This is what we gonna do. I'm gonna pull, each one of you, and I want you to tell me who you are, where you're from, and if you can, in 5 words or less. I know sometimes that's hard, like I can't say it. In 5 words or less, describe what your chapter is about. So since Natasha is right next to me, can you go first?
Hi, Dr. Natasha Anderson. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My chapter is chapter 14. It's called Even with My Mouth Closed, I Still Speak. And it's all about having a voice even when I enter spaces.
Wow. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Sharita, go ahead.
Hello there, Sharita Rollins, and I am excited to be here with you. Thank you. My chapter is called Escalator Blues, and 5 words or less is a challenge, but I'm going to say emotionally intelligent thinking and decision making. I'm a conversation coach from Kansas City, Missouri.
All right. See, we global. All right. All right, Dr. Grenville, come on now.
Hi, I am Delia Grenville, and my chapter is about workplace group aggression. I know all of you guys know what I'm talking about, that sort of weird silent thing that's happening. And you're just sort of like, how did this become about me being the person who did everything wrong?
Listen. Hey, Dr. Mary, tell us who you are and where you're from, and if, in 5 words or less, if you can, what your chapter is about.
Hi, excuse me. I'm Dr. Mary Darden Robinson. I'm actually in the Hampton Roads area, so I'm in Virginia. My chapter is actually about eliminating the diversity desert workspace.
Wow. Okay. All right, Leah, come on. Put your head wrap on.
Yeah, with my head wrap on. Thank you for shouting me out. I appreciate that. So I am Leah C. Murphy, and I am based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And my chapter is titled The Game is Rigged, Career Accelerators and Career Derailers. And in 5 words or less, it really helps people focus on intentional collaboration, sponsorship, and avoiding the burden of responsibility for others' microaggressions.
Microaggressions. All right. And so I'll share my chapter. My chapter is around the call. I think I called it, I can't remember the title, but I think I said something like the call that's coming from inside the house. And for me, it's really about the fact that when we talk about sort of the issues of Black folk at work, we often think of corporate, but they forget it's a whole host of us in public service, government, local, state, federal, and we are suffering just like everybody else, and we're forgotten. And I will say this too, it also feels different because for us, we often work in organizations with words like equity in them, or there's supposed to be some public good, but then it's like, but how come, why they treat me like this in this space, and I'm supposed to be this person helping the community in some way. So that's what my chapter is about, and it was a really joy to write. It's based on my dissertation. So what prompted you to share your story in this analogy? When the call went out for, hey, we're looking for people that are in the workspace that can share sort of their triumphs and their tragedies and how they push through, what was the catalyst for that to happen? I'll start with you, Sharita.
Yeah, so thank you for asking that. Honestly, I'm a person of faith. I was scrolling through LinkedIn one day, and I've been working on this branding and thinking about how to launch my business. And I came across the opportunity, and it was something in my gut that said, do it, do it. So I jumped in. I mean, no thought, no questions asked, told my husband, hey, I saw this opportunity and I'm going to join it. And I did. And I'm so thankful that I did.
Yeah, I think I had the same thought, and I was like, "Oh, I hope they got Klarna or Afterpay, because baby." That was the second thought. The first thought was like immediately. Immediately. Yes. Dr. Mary, what was the reason that got you to say I must do this and share my story?
Well, similar to what Sharita just shared, I'm really big on being obedient in times when I need to be obedient. Although I struggle a little bit in that area, when it is time to be obedient, I just know and I get the feeling I have to act. And I actually had read the first book that Elizabeth Lever wrote, I'm Not Yelling. And I remember sitting at my space at work, and almost in tears based on just the microaggressions, the ridiculous disrespect that's out there. And so when I saw that opportunity and I saw it was connected to her, I knew that it was right.
Yeah. Delia?
Yeah, so for me, I'd already been on sort of a 1.5 year long journey of sharing the story about workplace group aggression called mobbing. I didn't want to use the word mobbing at the beginning because most people don't know that it has a word. And in this mission to get this word out in the last 18 months or so, I see it all over the internet now. More people are acknowledging it by its name. And so when there was an opportunity to write something down that would be like more than 3 paragraphs in LinkedIn, I really wanted to do it. I mean, of course, as Dr. Mary was saying, it was backed by Elizabeth's work, which I'd already read as well.
Absolutely. Something that my guest last week, Delay, said, she's an HR expert. She talked about the fact, something that you just said that just stuck, said bing. She said something about the words, not having the vocabulary and wait, that's what that is. And I think that's so important. And part of the reason why for us, telling our stories is so important, sharing what has happened so people can say, wait a minute, you mean that's not just me? That this is also happening to someone else and there's a name for it? Wow. So I think that's very powerful and really, really important for a lot of folks to help them navigate. Because for me, it's really about helping people get to the next step and figuring out, like, if you're not going to quit the workforce, you got to figure out how to kind of get through the weeds to get to the other side. Natasha, why did you join or decide to share your story?
Well, that's actually funny because piggybacking off of what you just said, I think I spent the last 4 years being silent because I had this thought that nobody wanted to hear my voice. And then I went through a leadership course where I sort of I found my voice, and so I've been using it. So when this opportunity came up, I said, I'm going to take it and I'm going to share my stories again, right? I used to write and I used to tell my stories everywhere. And then I thought, nobody wants to hear this story again. Nobody wants to, I don't want to talk about this anymore. But I figured, why not? Somebody can benefit from hearing my story and learning from my experience and my experiences. And so I'm going to tell it until the wheels fall off, or I'm no longer here to tell it because it matters. My voice matters, and my story matters. And so I'm going to do this because I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. And so my voice is no longer going to be silent. I'm not going to let that happen anymore.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I'm happy that you made that decision. Funny thing that you mentioned being silent. As you know, I'm writing on my dissertation and about the experiences of Black people that work in local health departments across the United States. And it's funny, or not funny, it's interesting, I'll say, because I noticed one of the comments was, well, I guess I'll just stay here and just shut up. And I was asking on LinkedIn for help. I was looking for a specific journal article or something to back up the concept of safe spaces. And someone on LinkedIn was so gracious to send me an article, and it was about self-silencing and how Black women self-silence in the workspace, where they just say, I'm just not going to say nothing. Because for us, we realize, well, why say anything? First of all, don't nobody care, and nothing's going to change. But I like that you're literally telling that counter narrative, like, oh, no, I'm still going to tell it. I'm still telling. It's so and so important. Leah, what was your catalyst?
So I think it's really been said really well by all of the other panelists. So I won't repeat any of that. But ultimately, for me, I am someone who is driven by collaboration. I enjoy the opportunity to be amongst other very sharp people and minds. And I was excited at the opportunity that there would be this collective of individuals that I would have never been able to convene myself, all brought together specifically for this purpose to create this thing. And I thought the thing was so important in this anthology, Triumph in the Trenches, Navigating Success for Black Professionals, was so important for me to participate in because, one, I am not speaking for any organization. I don't have any responsibility or obligation to an organization outside of my own at this stage in my professional life. And I know that that's a privilege that a lot of us don't necessarily always get to speak from that position. So I wanted to fully use that privilege, right? Because we all have it in different ways. And then the other part for me was, as we carry this forward and as we, are no longer here to tell the stories verbally, to really encapsulate these narratives and these important stories and references and experiences so that someone else can benefit, but also that they live in history for years to come. So that kind of opportunity really was inspirational for me. And the opportunity to collaborate with other really sharp, capable minds, like some of the women who are here today, was like, yeah, we can make this happen. This sounds good.
It was amazing. And there are 22 authors, and not all of them are women. There are folks from all different industries represented. And I think that's also what makes it really special and unique. And I don't know what happens to me sometimes. I'll be asleep or on my way to sleep, and I'm like, you know what? And something will just come to mind. And that's what happened with me. I said, this book is like the Green Book, but for Black working people. That's what it is. And if all of you who are watching, or even when you watch it later in the replay, don't know what the Green Book is, back in the early days, and I don't know how early, but back in the day, as the Great Migration was happening and folks were leaving the South, Black people were leaving the South, going to the East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, they needed a way to figure out which gas station to go to, which hotel would accommodate them, which restaurants they could, go and get food from and not be harmed with violence, property damage, property loss, or anything like that. And so the Green Book became this sort of guide for people. Okay, I'm going from Mississippi to California to Los Angeles. How, along the way, where can I stop for safety? And so I see this as a way for movement. Not literal movement, but how do we get through this workplace in one piece? Because baby, these places, if we ain't careful, will stroke you out, and we ain't nobody got time for that right now. We ain't got time for no heart attack. We ain't got time. So how can we do this and navigate this in a way that is safe and healthy for us? Especially if you can't leave. I got a pension to look forward to, so hey. So while I'm there, the next 4 years, how can I get through this in one piece?
Shouts to you, Nicole, for actually saying the Green Book reference too, because as soon as you said it, I feel like it was a universal alignment. Like, yes, we all agree. Like, no one was like, well, maybe not. It was like, oh, absolutely. Shout out to you for having that association and that vision, and really being able to give an analogy that people could really relate to. Because I could not agree with you more.
Well, I have to say that because there's collectively, I think we all agree that there's still work to be done. And it's not that we're up for the challenge, right? And that's the thing. And so I know in my chapter, I can't speak for anybody else's, but I know in my chapter there's a call to action. Like, we're not doing this work alone. So there's a call to action at the end of my chapter. Like, yes, read the nice stories, and I tell stories in it, but like at the end of it, it's like, hey y'all, it's time for us all to get to work on this, right? Like I'm calling us all to the mat, to the carpet. We got to get on the court, and let's all do this thing together. So, sisters and brothers in this thing together. So, because if we come together, we're more powerful together than we are apart. We can all agree to disagree. We're not a monolith, right? But together we can do this work and overcome a whole bunch of things, right? So that's the thing.
Absolutely. So my next question for you, because I think we've covered, I was going to ask, why is this book important? I think we've made that clear, right? Just even from hearing from all of you, and the whole Green Book, analogy makes a lot of sense. But I want to ask all of you, what does it mean to triumph? So, we triumph in the trenches. Okay, we in the trenches, but what does triumph look like for all of you? Or what do you hope that triumph looks like for the people that are reading this book? I will start with Delia.
I think for triumph, right? It's something that comes from within you, and feeling strong, feeling like you belong there, feeling like your story and the sense of who you are matters, but having a kinship with the people around you, regardless of who they are. And I think oftentimes the way we're treated in so many of these environments, we don't feel like we can pat ourselves on the back, give ourselves a little hug, self-love, cheer ourselves on, and feel that someone else would be cheering us on, I'm usually going to social media for that. Or for my spouse or my partner. And somehow, as you said, the green book analogy, it stuck with all of us. Why don't we have that safety in the workplace?
Wow. And something that you said, it's funny how my brain works, because Leah had said something to me on your podcast, and I said I've said this to several people since, about rewiring your feedback loop, right? And being intentional about that. So to Delia's point, we should expect that. I think we should. We should expect that if we are, yay, I'm getting my doctorate, and you should expect your staff to be, or your supervisor to be happy for you. But the funny thing is, the literature says, because I'm in the literature because I'm writing this dissertation, the literature says that when Black people self-promote, hey, I just did this great thing. Oh my gosh. Actually, it's harmful. It's harmful to us, because the supervisors are like, wait a minute. It does some weird thing in their brain, like, but she Black. She ain't supposed to be efficient and smart. What's wrong with her? So we actually get punished for self-promotion at work. And it shouldn't be that way. We should be able to go to work just like everybody else and hype ourselves up, expect a pat on the back, especially if we're doing the work and putting the work in. And I know most of us are operating at a level, high level in our workspaces. But I definitely appreciate your comment, because I think that is what we need to expect and what triumph does look like. But I also would like to offer what Leah said. And Leah, can you talk about that? How you taught me about, you gave a name to something that I was telling you, and I was like, I had never heard that before.
I think what you're referring to, and we had a great time on the podcast. So, I mean, we covered a lot. So I'm going to try to make sure I get it right. And I focus on curating your intake, right? And there's a certain amount of like us filtering out the things that are not serving us, because there's so much that is required of us mentally. So we have to really be in a mindset in order to accomplish the things that we desire to accomplish for ourselves. So curating your intake, but you were specifically talking about in the workplace, like day to day. And I was saying to retune your feedback loop so that you can have sources outside of your workplace that give you the acknowledgement, the recognition, the community that you need. There's so many of us who are only getting or only operating at work. So we're very limited in the ways that we get feedback and the people that we get it from. And that will cause us to perceive the world differently, to perceive ourselves as not quite making it, as underperforming, or to be comparing ourselves to other people on social media. And then that sends us in a different direction. So ultimately, as you're retuning your feedback loop to say, what are the other sources of positive recognition, acknowledgement, collective, and community that we really desire and need as human beings? You can get what you need, and it doesn't require you to change your workplace. So that can come from community relationships, nonprofit leadership, volunteerism, church, ministry. It can come from a number of different places, but we have to be very intentional about bringing that into us so that we can create a balance between what we're hearing maybe from our manager day to day in the workplace versus the things that we know are worth acknowledging for us. So that's the curate your intake and then tuning your feedback loop.
Absolutely. I love it. Love it. And I tell everybody, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yes, you have to kind of create this thing and curate your own, because you might not get it at work, right? You might not get that. So yeah. And since Leah, you were talking, you want to tell me what triumph looks like to you, or what you think it should look like for the folks that are reading this book?
Yeah, I think triumph for me, and I know I'm going to be really thoughtful so we can be short on time so everybody has a chance to contribute to this question. It really goes for me to thriving, right? In order to navigate life, we deserve, and I believe, and when I say we, I mean we as human beings, as women, as Black women, as people who work in corporate, nonprofit, academia, you name it, right? Wherever you are on the spectrum, we deserve to feel like we have the opportunity to thrive, and that the environment that we're in will allow us to do that. So that's what I think triumph is. And Triumph in the Trenches has its own specific idea of, even throughout navigating the spaces that we choose to go into, will we have the potential to be able to thrive out of there? And I think each of us do collectively have those stories. And that's why the anthology was so powerful.
Absolutely. Dr. Mary, what does triumph look like for you, or for the people that read your book? Because I know you have a very specific clinical background. Maybe there's something, that touches that for you, but I'm open to hearing.
So for me, when I think of triumphant, it really comes down to authenticity. For a good period of my career, I was consistently, judged for the fingernails, the hair. I love nails. I love hair. I'm all about color. I'm all about anything that is busy. And going into the working environment, it became clear that that was not acceptable, based on the spaces that I worked on, and that maybe I should try to tone down or be someone other than who I am. And so as I'm getting older, that has completely gone because I'm just getting more and more ridiculous and embracing that. But I think it is not only, definitely thriving. I would agree with Leah that that's a part of it, but also being true to yourself. And so I hope that with the chapter that I wrote, someone will be able to kind of maybe take a moment to themselves and say, it's okay for me to be different. I mean, I think also about what you said, Dr. Vic, I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. What you said previously about, being in a space and, people should kind of like celebrate education. I can tell you, I worked in an African American organization. It was run by a lot of folk that looked like me. And for a year, no one knew that I was working on my doctoral because just because of the initials behind my name, I already had people coming for me. So I knew that that would be that one extra thing. And so it's really unfortunate, but you have to strategize how you navigate the workspaces that you're in. And so I've experienced it from people that look like me and people that do not look like me. And it's nasty either way, to be honest. But being authentic to yourself and lending yourself grace to be different and to embrace that. So I always get different sort of clients. And they're like, oh, we're going to give you all those sorts of clients. And in 5 minutes, we talk about hair, nails, or something that creates a space that feels safer, because I don't use safe, but safer to them, where they feel that they can be themselves. And authenticity is incredibly important.
Absolutely 100% important. And I agree with you with the nails. Listen.
Yes.
Hoop
I mean, I
earrings
even
on.
had a teacher tell me, I was taking this course really quickly. I was taking this course on public speaking. And so I did not do well because she was distracted by my nails.
Anyway.
And I was like, that is so not what you should even be paying attention to. But to hear it from a teacher, I mean, we learn from people like that. So that told me her being authentic, which is not the way to go.
Terrible. All right, Natasha, what does thriving look like for you? Or triumph?
I have to agree. So I have a STEM background. So for me, it's all about, and I've been, I kind of feel like Dr. Mary in that people have always tried to tell me who I should be in these spaces. And so I kind of feel like Dr. Mary in the sense of like showing up as myself has to be enough, because I can't be anybody else, and I'm not striving to be anybody else but myself. And so I've learned that I deserve to be in every room that I'm in, but not every room deserves me. And so I'm walking in that fully, and that's what triumph looks like for me.
I love it. Sharita, come on and bring us home.
Yeah. So, working in corporate and nonprofit over the years, even in education, I realized that I had not outgrown the only one, being the only one. And my chapter is, touching on the idea that survival is never the goal. We should not just be surviving, but we need tools that get us to a level of emotional vitality. We need to be able to respond and understand and navigate and have a strategy, like Dr. Mary said. And that's what I think triumphing is. It's having the strategy. It's looking, seeking, identifying your emotional space of vitality and holding on to it and not allowing others to take it from you. And that's triumphing for me.
Yes. I love it. Thank you all for being with me tonight. I know this goes, and I told y'all, I was like, it's gonna go by fast. Y'all gonna be like, wait, it's over already? It's over already, y'all. But I want to thank you so much because you lent so much perspective to this book. And I think people will now, not that they weren't wanting to buy it before, but I think this is an extra, tool or resource for people to be like, well, why should I buy this book? Watch this podcast episode. You're gonna see. And so just FYI to those that are watching, the book is available. You have to go to your respective, whoever that wrote is contributed to it to purchase. It's not at like Target, it's not at Barnes and Noble. It's not on Amazon. So you just got to go to whoever your contact person. You can come to my website and pick it up. But all of the authors here also have their website where you can also buy a copy of that book and support them as well. Okay. So with that, we're going to close up because I have class in 5 minutes. I got to go to school. I'm still in school, y'all. I want to direct you all to my website, www.nicoledevick.com. That just popped up on the screen. You can purchase all of my books there, including Triumph in the Trenches. But again, if you are watching because Leah is here, please buy the copy through Leah if necessary. You also can check me out. I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. Most of the time these days, LinkedIn is where I am. I'm not even really on TikTok no more. Instagram, I just show my nail designs on Instagram more so. But I'm still around, but I'm busy right now trying to get these chapters written, so I'm a little quiet. And what else about me? I talked about the books, talked about the website, and I guess I'll see y'all next week. I guess that's enough of all the things that I have to say, but I want to thank you all again for being here with me tonight. This was amazing conversation. I might bring some of y'all back because I got questions about other things.
Let's do it.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.